Hey everybody, and welcome back to another lecture with Coding with Roby. And in this lecture, we're going to set up a production database of PostgreSQL to our Heroku application. Now, this is like pretty much the final step, and we have a full-blown application. Awesome, awesome job. And again, how we're going to do this is everything is going to be completely free of charge. So the first thing we need to do is head over to our Overview tab. And inside our Overview tab, we need to say Configure Add-ons. And right here, we can say Find More Add-ons. And now inside Heroku add-ons, they have a ton of third-party, add-ons that allow you to do so many different things. So if your application is able and compatible with any of these add-ons, there's a ton of them that really make your life so much easier. But first thing I'm going to do is search for Postgres. And the second option that pops up for me is this Heroku Postgres, reliable and powerful database as a service based on PostgreSQL. I'm going to click this, and here we can see it's a reliable and powerful database, and it starts at $0 a month. Now, there's definitely different tiers you can get, but some of the most powerful stuff is that you get 10,000 row limit for free. And 10,000 row limit is an awesome amount. And as a hobby dev, it's free, but you can always change what you want, and it can actually go all the way up to $16,000 a month. So it can get very, very expensive, very, very fast. But we're just going to be using the free hobby dev version. So we can say install Heroku Postgres. And again, we're using the free add-on. And inside here, we want to click on our application. So here, I'm just going to type in C because I only have one application deployed, and it says Coding with Roby Fast API Deploy. And I'm just going to say Submit Order Form. And again, it may or may not ask for a credit card. If it does, feel free to put it in. We are using the free monthly Heroku tier and plan. It did not ask me for a credit card though, so it may change in the future. Now that we have this up, it might take a second to set up, but if we click on our Heroku Postgres, we can see that it's currently loading our Postgres, and we have 10,000 rows available, but 0 tables and 0 rows as of right now. And now we need to configure our application to work with this database. And here, I'm going to show you also something that's probably pretty important. This is not actually deployed necessarily on Heroku. If we go over to our settings and we view database credentials, we can see that the database is actually getting hosted on Amazon AWS, which is kind of important to note that we are just calling an AWS instance. However, Heroku had a very easy add-on that allows us to do this very quickly. Now, if we go over to our settings, we can scroll down until we see configuration variables. If we now click reveal config variables, we can see that we have our database URL and our Postgres sequence, which is going to have all the information we need to be able to connect to our database. Now, one cool thing is we're going to be connecting this to our database, but we're actually going to be calling the operating system, which I'll show you in a second. So let's switch over to our PyCharm database. So let's open up our database.py file. And the first thing we want to do is import OS. And here, instead of saying SQLite, all this kind of stuff, we're just going to say os.environment.getDatabaseURL. And now, if we remember, this database URL is going to match this database URL. Now, one caveat with this plan is that Postgres has changed the way to connect slightly. This just says Postgres. There also needs to be a QL at the end. So let's go and modify our code for us to automatically change our SQL Alchemy database URL to now add that QL at the end. So right under SQL Alchemy underscore database underscore URL, I'm going to say if SQL Alchemy underscore database underscore URL dot starts with Postgres : / then we want SQL Alchemy database URL to equal SQL Alchemy database URL dot replace, and we're going to replace our Postgres : / with our PostgreSQL : comma 1. All right, and then we need to remove all of this because this is SQL Alchemy only. And now I'm going to save the application. So we imported OS. We're saying SQL Alchemy database URL is equal to the OS environment variable of database URL. And if this SQL Alchemy database URL is equal to this Postgres, we actually want to change Postgres to PostgreSQL. And now let's add this to our repository. Let's go back to our application, refresh the page. We're going to need to go over to our deploy and click deploy branch. Where we're just going to be installing all of our pip requirements again and setting up the dynos in Heroku for our application. And now it says our application is deployed, so let's right-click View and open up a new tab. And here's our application. I'm going to type in coding with Roby, password test1234. And we can see that it's an incorrect username or password. And that's because we're using an entirely new database. Our Postgres is our deployment and production environment only. So I'm going to go over to register. I'm going to say codingwithroby@gmail.com. User is created, so now I'm going to say coding with Roby, password test1234, exclamation mark. And look at that, we are in with a live web application. But remember, we are on the free tier, so Heroku will shut this down eventually. But if you wanted your application to stay up forever, you can just pay for it with dynos and you will be good to go. But just to keep going, I'm going to create a to-do. I'm going to make the title Finish Fast API course. With the description, I have learned so much with a priority of 5 and create new to do. And there we have it. We can do all of the normal stuff that we're going to be doing, and your application can have as many users as you want. If we go back to our Fast API deployment, and we go back to our overview, and we click on our Heroku Postgres, we can see now that we have our 2 databases created, or our 2 tables, 1 database, 2 tables. We have a data size of 8.3 megabytes, we have 2 rows, and we have 1 of 20 connections activated. And there we have it, folks. We have now created a Fast API application that we have added Git to and deployed to GitHub, and then deployed this to the world using Heroku. Congratulations. This wraps up this lecture, and I will see you in the next video.